Harold had been walking the same mail route for 3 decades, delivering letters to the same houses, greeting the same neighbors, following the same precise schedule every single day. At 68, when most people would have retired years ago, Harold still showed up rain or shine. When someone finally asked why he never retired, his answer revealed a battle against time itself and a strategy for fighting a disease that had already begun to steal pieces of his memory. Range 47 in suburban Milwaukee covered 12.3 miles of tree-lined streets, modest ranch homes, and apartment complexes that had housed 3 generations of working families. For 30 years, Harold Washington had walked every step of that route, 6 days a week, through Wisconsin winters that froze mail slots shut and summer heat that made asphalt soft under his feet. Harold knew every house by heart. 1247 Elm Street belonged to Mrs. Rodriguez, who always left homemade cookies on her porch during Christmas week. 1532 Oak Avenue was home to the Thompson family, where he'd delivered birthday cards to 3 children who were now adults with children of their own. 847 Maple Drive housed Mr. Chen, a retired teacher who still graded papers at his kitchen table and always waved from the window when Harold passed by. At 68, Harold was well past the typical retirement age for postal workers. His colleagues had been asking for years when he planned to step down, enjoy his pension, and spend his days fishing or traveling like other retirees. But Harold kept showing up, rain or shine, snow or heat, with the same steady determination he'd maintained for 3 decades. What his coworkers didn't understand was that Harold wasn't just delivering mail, he was fighting for his life in the most literal sense possible. Harold's family history read like a medical textbook on Alzheimer's disease. His father, Thomas, had been diagnosed at 72 and died 5 years later, unable to recognize his own son. Harold's older brother James began showing symptoms at 69 and was now living in a memory care facility, his vibrant personality reduced to fragments of confusion and occasional moments of clarity. Their Uncle Robert had followed the same tragic pattern, diagnosed at 71 and gone by 76. The genetic component of Alzheimer's was undeniable in Harold's family. He carried the APOE4 gene variant, which significantly increased his risk of developing the disease. His doctor had explained that while genetics weren't destiny, Harold's family history meant he needed to be proactive about protecting his cognitive health. That conversation had taken place 3 years ago, and Harold had left his doctor's office with a prescription unlike any medication bottle. A list of lifestyle modifications that research suggested could delay or prevent Alzheimer's symptoms. Regular physical exercise, social engagement, mental stimulation, routine maintenance, and purpose-driven activity were all protective factors against cognitive decline. Harold realized that his mail route provided every single one of these protective elements naturally. He walked 12 miles daily, providing the cardiovascular exercise that research showed was crucial for brain health. He interacted with dozens of neighbors regularly, maintaining the social connections that studies indicated could reduce dementia risk by up to 70%. He navigated complex routes, sorted mail, and remembered hundreds of addresses and resident preferences, giving his brain the kind of mental exercise that researchers believed built cognitive reserve. Most importantly, Harold's work gave him a sense of purpose and community connection that studies suggested were among the strongest protective factors against cognitive decline. He wasn't just walking for exercise, he was serving his community. He wasn't just remembering addresses, he was maintaining relationships with people who depended on him. So when colleagues asked about retirement, Harold's answer was always the same: "I'm not ready yet." What he didn't explain was that retirement might mean surrendering the very activities that were keeping his mind sharp and his memory intact. But Harold had begun noticing changes that scared him more than he let on. Small things at first, occasionally forgetting a street name he'd known for decades, mixing up similar house numbers, or losing track of conversations mid-sentence. These lapses were still rare and minor, but Harold recognized them as potential early warning signs of the disease that had claimed so many men in his family. Instead of panicking, Harold doubled down on his protective strategies. He began paying even more attention to his route details, consciously memorizing new information about his neighbors, and challenging himself with mental exercises during his walks. He turned his mail delivery into a daily cognitive workout designed to build and maintain his brain's resilience against decline. Harold also began tracking his memory and cognitive function more carefully. He kept a small notebook where he recorded any episodes of forgetfulness, tested himself on route information, and noted his mood and energy levels. This wasn't medical paranoia. It was proactive health management, based on his understanding that early detection and intervention were crucial for slowing Alzheimer's progression. The person who finally learned about Harold's strategy was Dr. Sarah Kim, a neuropsychologist who lived at 1156 Pine Street and had been receiving mail from Harold for 8 years. Dr. Kim specialized in cognitive aging and Alzheimer's prevention, and she had always been impressed by Harold's memory for details about her family and his consistent, cheerful demeanor. One autumn morning, as Harold delivered her mail, Dr. Kim was outside raking leaves and decided to satisfy her curiosity about something that had puzzled her for months. "Harold, can I ask you something? You've been walking this route longer than anyone I know. Most people would have retired by now. What keeps you motivated to keep working?" Harold paused, considering how much to share with someone he knew only through brief interactions. Then he looked at Dr. Kim's medical journals piling up on her porch and realized she might understand his situation better than most people. "Dr. Kim, you study brain health, don't you?" "I do. I specialize in cognitive aging and dementia prevention." Harold took a deep breath. "Then maybe you'll understand this. Alzheimer's runs in my family. My father, my brother, my uncle. I'm 68, which means I'm entering the danger zone. But my doctor told me that staying physically active, socially connected, and mentally challenged could help delay or prevent symptoms." He gestured around the neighborhood. "This route gives me all of that, 12 miles of walking every day, hundreds of people I interact with regularly, constant mental exercise, remembering addresses, names, preferences, changes. Most importantly, it gives me purpose. People depend on me, and I depend on them." Dr. Kim listened with growing professional and personal interest. "So you're using your work as a form of cognitive protection therapy. I guess you could call it that. I'm not ready to retire because retiring might mean giving up the very things that are keeping my brain healthy." Dr. Kim was fascinated by Harold's intuitive understanding of dementia prevention strategies. "Harold, have you been working with a neurologist on this approach?" "Just my regular doctor. He gave me some research about lifestyle factors, but I've been figuring out most of it on my own." That conversation marked the beginning of an informal collaboration that would benefit both Harold's health and Dr. Kim's research. Dr. Kim offered to help Harold develop a more systematic approach to cognitive protection, while Harold's real-world experience with prevention strategies provided valuable insights for her academic work. Dr. Kim explained that Harold's instincts were supported by solid research. Studies showed that people who remained physically active, socially engaged, and intellectually stimulated well into their senior years had significantly lower rates of dementia. The combination of cardiovascular exercise, social interaction, and purposeful activity that Harold was getting through his mail route was essentially a perfect prescription for brain health. But Dr. Kim also helped Harold understand that his approach needed some refinements. While routine and familiarity were comforting, the brain also needed novelty and challenge to stay sharp. She suggested that Harold begin varying his route occasionally, learning new information about his neighborhood, and taking on additional responsibilities that would provide fresh mental stimulation. Harold began implementing these suggestions immediately. He started studying local history and sharing interesting facts with neighbors during his deliveries. He volunteered to train new mail carriers, which required him to articulate and organize knowledge he'd been using intuitively for decades. He began learning Spanish to better communicate with the growing number of Latino families on his route. Most importantly, Harold began seeing his mail route not just as a job or even as therapy, but as a community health resource. He became more attentive to signs that elderly residents might need assistance, more proactive about connecting isolated neighbors with community resources, and more intentional about fostering social connections among the people he served. Dr. Kim documented Harold's progress and strategies, with his permission, as part of her research on community-based dementia prevention. Harold's approach was yielding measurable benefits. His cognitive assessments remained stable. His physical fitness was exceptional for his age, and his sense of purpose and social connection were stronger than most people half his age. But perhaps most importantly, Harold had transformed his relationship with aging and cognitive health. Instead of waiting passively for symptoms to appear, he was actively working to prevent them. Instead of seeing his family history as a death sentence, he was treating it as information that could guide his health decisions. Harold's story began attracting attention from other postal workers approaching retirement age, many of whom were dealing with similar concerns about aging and cognitive health. He began speaking at Postal Service wellness events, sharing his strategies for using work as a form of health maintenance rather than just income generation. His message was always balanced and realistic. "I can't guarantee that I won't develop Alzheimer's," Harold would tell audiences. "My genetics are what they are. But research shows that lifestyle factors can delay symptoms, reduce severity, and improve quality of life, even for people at high risk. I'm doing everything I can to stack the odds in my favor." Harold also emphasized that his approach wasn't just about individual health, it was about community well-being. "When I stay healthy and engaged, I can better serve my neighbors. When I connect people with resources and foster social relationships, I'm helping build the kind of community support that benefits everyone's health." Today, Harold continues walking Route 47, now in his 32nd year of service. His cognitive assessments remain stable, though he and Dr. Kim continue monitoring for any changes. More importantly, Harold has created a model for what researchers call successful aging, maintaining physical health, cognitive function, and social engagement well into the senior years. Harold has also helped change how the Postal Service thinks about older workers. Instead of viewing senior employees as liabilities approaching retirement, the service has begun recognizing them as valuable resources whose experience and community connections provide benefits that younger workers can't replicate. But Harold's most significant contribution may be his demonstration that fighting cognitive decline doesn't require expensive treatments or specialized programs. His weapons are walking, talking, remembering, and caring, activities available to anyone willing to approach aging proactively rather than passively. When people ask Harold about his advice for healthy aging, his response reflects both scientific understanding and practical wisdom. Find something that gives you purpose, keeps you moving, connects you with people, and challenges your brain. Do it consistently, do it with intention, and don't wait until you're already having problems to start. The brain you save might be your own. Harold's story continues to inspire researchers and community members alike. He's shown that the fight against Alzheimer's doesn't have to be fought in laboratories or hospitals. It can be fought on neighborhood streets, one conversation at a time, one relationship at a time, one step at a time. Now I ask you, have you encountered someone who turned their daily routine into a strategy for healthy aging? Someone who used work, volunteering, or community involvement as a way to stay sharp and connected? Share their story in the comments below, because here at Silent Heroes, we believe that the most effective health strategies often involve serving others while caring for ourselves. Thank you for watching. If this story changed how you think about aging, cognitive health, and the power of purpose, subscribe to help us share more stories about proactive wellness and community connection. Hit that notification bell. Share this with someone who's thinking about healthy aging strategies.